is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Justified, Season 5, Episode 9, Wrong Road. In this episode, Raylan meets himself in 30 years, and it's not a pretty picture. Does he learn a lesson? No, he does not. Welcome to Unspoiled.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at you, boy. You try to go, God, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I see them long.
Hi, everybody. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Alan, and I've seen the whole show.
And I haven't seen any of it. Not even this episode. I'm just kidding. I've seen everything and this episode, but nothing past it. Yeah, guys, we've been gone a little bit. Sorry about that. It's been a while. I took a vacation. Alan took a vacation. I forgot to post a couple episodes. Maybe. So we're back finally, and I'm really excited to start off our coming back with this episode because I loved this one.
Yeah, I was. I really, really like, as you hit on, Raylan's alter ego at the FBI, and yeah. So overall impression, you liked it?
Yeah, I just like it's. There's just a lot happening that I feel is, It's sort of funny because I'm trying to find the comment. I think it was Benjamin Hamill, because he leaves a lot of comments on the Justified episodes on the Facebook page. I'm trying to find exactly who it was.
That's friend of the show, Benjamin Hamill.
Friend of the show. What's up? High five. We are liking this season more than he expected us to. Okay. And he said that while the show was airing, it got a lot of flack. Yes. Because he said that people didn't like Ava's storyline, which I have to admit I'm not surprised by, because people don't like it when shows unexpectedly start to focus on the female characters. That's just like a thing that I have seen on a lot of shows, that when it's like, there's just no other way to say it. It's people, get used to a show being about these heroic dudes, and then all of a sudden one of the women who hasn't really gotten a front row spot gets a lot more screen time, and they're like, well, I'm not here for this. And I don't have a problem with the actual plot itself. It's more like Ava's storyline. I find it interesting that they're giving her more to do, and that she seems to be kind of like pulling away from Boyd in a way, which gives her the potential to be doing. I love her and Boyd getting along and being partners, and Bonnie and Clyding it a little bit. But it isn't, I can't deny that if she were to like start her own little thing in the prison that she had some control over, that might be interesting to watch. Okay. So yeah, I think mostly Ava's storyline I just find kind of upsetting, to be honest. There's like every scene there that we see is just fucked up in a different way, So in that respect, I can see also not really enjoying it, even though it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I told you earlier, well, I've said a couple of times on the air, that this season I'm liking it a lot more this time than I did last time, because the first time I saw it, I wasn't super into it. And I did feel kind of like it feels like a low stakes season in a lot of ways. And yeah, I wouldn't have gone right for the gender thing with Ava, but as you say it, I can certainly see that happening. I feel like that makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, all the prison stuff feels a little more cliched than Justified usually pulls off. I still think they're doing it well, but I can see people just being a little bored by that, because it does feel like any other number of prison shows that we've seen. Although they are making an effort to do things differently.
I think that's probably a fair assessment, but I haven't really watched many shows that were set in prisons. You know, I watched almost the first whole season of Orange is the New Black. I didn't finish that. I was just not really into it. And I hear that it gets better because Piper's in it less, but I just, you know, she's the worst and it was hard for me to care. And other than that, I don't feel like I've seen anything where prisons were really front and center. There's a little bit of prison time in The Wire, but really not much. That's just, you know, a fraction of one season. And other than that, so that might be part of why I don't mind it, is because I'm not like, I haven't OD'd on it already. And I don't really know what a lot of the cliches look like because I haven't already been through this before. But yeah, I just, I get what he's saying, and I couldn't find the comment. I'm sorry. I just went back through my whole feed, and you know how Facebook is. They don't make it easy. And I think he said that, the accent that, what is it? Dwayne? Crow? Daryl, that's the one. That people hated his accent, and that was a big, like, constant complaint. Also.
Yeah.
I don't even notice because most Southern accents irritate me so much that I can't tell if it's a bad one because I just find them all irritating. So I kind of like have just tuned it out in general, whether it's real or not real. They're all awful. So I believe you if it's a really bad one. Like if you're saying that, sure. Okay. I'll take your word for it. But as for me, if it's real or not, I'm going to hate it anyway. So, you know, it doesn't really matter when it comes down to it for me.
Yeah, I read that too. That didn't bother me so much. I think for me it was a lot more of everybody seems so separated in this season that, you know, I didn't feel like there was as much of it said low stakes, and I guess it's really still what it boils down to. Mm-hmm. There just wasn't enough going on to make me care the first time I saw it. And I think a lot of the things that were maybe a little more subtle or, you know, characters who aren't such proactive characters who might normally be in the background like Wendy or Kendall really do shine, but not in the way that some of the audience of this show would be interested in watching.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm not trying to talk down about anybody watching the show, but you tune in to a show like Justified with certain expectations, and watching the pouty 13-year-old kid probably isn't one of them. So
yeah, and this is sort of where I feel like the show does its best work. So it's the kind of thing, like, I understand that part of the draw is really going to be he can shoot people and save the day, and isn't that great? And sure, but also they can do character stuff really well, and they have like great actors at their disposal, and it's kind of like unusual. So let them do their thing that they're really good at also. So anyway, yeah, that's my assessment. So I understand like where some of the criticism was coming from that he was describing. But frankly, some of those minuses are just straight up pluses for me. And like, don't get me wrong. I was hating on Ava at the beginning of the season because she was just being insufferable. But what's kind of funny is that now that she's in a situation where she's in serious actual danger for real, she is like kind of toughening up and just being silent about it. Which you could take as being sort of aggressive or passive aggressive in its own way, I guess, from the way that she just gets up and walks away from Boyd. But I also kind of respect the fact that she's in a position that he just cannot really understand. Like, the very person that he paid to take care of her is the one that beat her ass. Like, no offense, boy, but you haven't been super useful. So, and you haven't been around. And sure, you've been doing a lot of shit, but she's in here by herself. You know, like, I kind of don't blame her. And I almost think she's handling it in a better way than I would have. Like, if she decided to get all snotty and whiny now, as opposed to earlier, I would definitely have a lot more sympathy for her now. But instead, she's doing the opposite, where she's like, shit is way too bad for me to even complain about. I just need to, like, get through this, which is a much smarter way to approach it, frankly.
Well, she's stepping up, and it's in a way that's totally consistent with her character, I think, because for the last couple of seasons, she and Boyd, they've been Bonnie and Clyde, and that's fun, but it's been 2 solid seasons of that. And other than them getting engaged, there hasn't been a lot of development there, I don't think. And this is, so when she, at the beginning of the season, she is totally relying on Boyd because she's stuck and can't do anything. But now when she's realizes she can't, she can't do anything but help herself, she's doing it just like she did before we ever met her, when she was stuck in that crappy marriage. And when it became apparent no one was going to do anything about it, she did something about it herself. So
yeah,
I think it, I said, I like it. And I think I like the actress. Earlier in the show, I don't love all of her acting choices, but she's really has grown on me by this point.
Yeah, I think you said at one point that you didn't like Ava that much this season, so I was preparing, and, I don't know what happens later, so there might be some other, or maybe your opinion changed or whatever, but I think I was prepping for more of the same or worsening of her attitude because of how you had sort of mentioned that. And so I think part of me is just pleasantly surprised because it's not really going that way, which was what I was dreading a little.
Yeah, it was mostly the whininess, and I think I remembered it going on for longer than it did. So now that we're out of that and she is sort of making her own way inside the prison ecosystem, I find that to be a lot more interesting. And, and I think some of the stuff she's had to come up against, she's made some... I do find the choices that she makes to be pretty compelling. Again, just right down to the plumber getting busted on the very first day. She just sees this thing that she's been told to do and she has agreed to do, and she suddenly says, nope, not a chance.
Right.
That's a pretty ballsy thing to want to do, especially when you are just making this up as you go along. So I can respect that a lot more. I just remember that first part. I remember whiny, helpless Ava going on for far longer. So,
sorry, your sound is doing a little bit of that thing there. So you said something at the end there that I didn't catch.
Oh, I just said, yay me for being wrong.
Oh, yay me for being wrong.
All right. Well, shall we jump into this from the top?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, Wrong Road. This was written by Dave Andron and Leonard Chang. This is Andron's 12th of 17 episodes of Justified, Chang's 3rd of 5 episodes. Directed by Michael Dinner. This is his 7th of 8 episodes for the show. Dinner's a heavy hitter. He did all the season openers and all that stuff. And I was looking back at Dave Andron. He's done a lot of the episodes that we liked a lot. Hatless, The Eye of the Storm with the Oxybus, Harlan Roulette, Where's Waldo, Foot Chase,
nice.
Get Drew. A lot of really good episodes came from him. So I've just been watching the stuff that he's been doing, and this is another really strong one. So wanted to point that out. But we open somewhere in Texas near the Mexican border, and we see an armadillo that is the focus for a moment.
And it's not squashed.
Yay!
Because that is such a thing on the roads here, let me tell you. I was actually kind of expecting them to, like, have there be a crunch sound, because armadillos getting hit by cars here, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. I had never even seen an armadillo in my life, and as of right now, I have not seen one alive. I have only seen like 15 dead ones.
All right, then.
Yeah, so I was kind of glad that they didn't do the thing I thought they were going to do, because I really did think.
Good stuff. But no, we are watching, I guess, sort of part 2 of Boyd's plan. Carl and Dewey and Danny, they're all in wreckers, and they have vehicles on the hook. They're meeting up with the drug shipment in a refrigerated truck of fish. And then they take all the drugs out of the fish and start taping them underneath the bumpers of the cars that they're towing.
Right. Which is a really, like, as we find out later, they do it because they can pretend, oh, we didn't know that was in that car. We're just towing it. We don't know. Right. And that's a pretty brilliant move. Like, apparently it's one of the oldest tricks in the book, but it works. So that's why they keep doing it. And that never occurred to me as a thing, and it makes a lot of sense. So, note to self, start a trucking company.
Yep. And I like that they set off, and they the crows are in one truck, and Dewey has to go with Carl because no one else wants to sit next to him because he stinks.
Oh, poor Dewey. What a... yeah.
Like they don't all smell like foot by this
Probably.
point.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like 3 days, right?
Yeah. But of course, it's got to be Dewey that everyone craps on because he just looks like he's asking for it.
Yeah.
All right. After they set off, Carl calls Boyd and Daryl and tells them the shipments are on their way. They're already home, or they're close. And no, they are.
No, they're back. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. And Daryl and Boyd have this conversation where Boyd basically puts all his cards on the table and says, like, yeah, we know that you scammed this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Totally spoiling Daryl's big reveal.
Yeah, and Daryl tries to play it off like it didn't spoil it. Like, yeah, I figured you'd probably know because you don't miss a trick. But it was hard for me to tell, and that's speaking to either Daryl as a character or the choice by the actor to not let me know. I couldn't tell how much he expected him to know. If it was that he was kind of like, well, he might figure it out, but we're still going to have proved our point. Or if he really thought that Boyd was in the dark. Because if he thought Boyd was that stupid... okay, so I'm Boyd, right? And there's this guy that just pretends to, oh, what a coincidence. One, that's insulting. Don't insult me. Right? Like, I've been doing this a while. You think I don't notice? Two, you shot up a bunch of dudes that were gonna be on my team to make your little point, right? Is that payoff worthwhile? I don't think so. I don't give a shit that you managed to get us across. We wouldn't have needed you if it hadn't been for the fact that you fucked everything up royally and we had a bunch of bodies to get rid of.
Yeah.
3, you try and pull this shit with me right off the top on the first job I bring you on, I expect you're going to do that to me at some point. Full stop. There's no way you stop there as just being part of this operation. Oh shit, they pulled on me and we had to kill him. How long until that's me on the ground? Give me a fucking break. You're not setting a good example for what your future endeavors are going to look like when you start off with this weak ass defense and trying to act like, and it's the most transparent thing. It's just so clearly just a matter of time before Boyd is the one that's going to be got. And apparently Boyd does feel that way because later on he is all about Daryl getting shot. So, which was hilarious and totally unexpected. And I loved it.
Yeah. In this moment, Daryl is, if nothing else, he's a great poker player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important because he's got the goofy accent. And because he is such, all the hick trappings make him appear like he can't possibly be a match for Boyd. And I think we have to constantly keep getting reminded that he is supposed to be a match for Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the way that they play it. Yes, I definitely think it took him by surprise. I don't think that I thought he figured that they had this figured out and that they had gotten this over on him successfully.
Yeah, I think that if you've been operating in the weird world of sugar smuggling, maybe you haven't had to deal with like top of the batch kind of mines, you know?
Yeah.
People, I mean, I'm sure that's not an industry that people are like scrambling to get into, right? Not like heroin. So
yeah, right.
It's not real competitive, so you don't have, people will just be able to pull off jobs without having to be as careful. And yeah, he's just really underestimating how careful Boyd has to be just at all times. I mean, let's face it, this season in particular, Boyd has been through the ringer.
Mhm.
Like, this is not a man that you're going to try and throw some shit over on. He has gotten more jaded in like 10 episodes than he has been this whole time, I would think. His girlfriend being up in the pokey doesn't help. So, yeah.
Yeah, except maybe for season 2. He was pretty...
Yeah, that's true.
But I also... Daryl takes this conversation and really spins it around very quickly. He tries to breeze past the I totally intentionally screwed up the job part as fast as he possibly can. And he moves right on to, yeah, you're right, you caught me, but you're not quite such an honest guy yourself. You know, I mean, would an honest guy really be pointing a gun at me from underneath the desk right now? And he does a good job of spinning it and really sort of controlling the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that does lead to what is, I remember being a pretty famous shot of the show, Boyd sitting behind the desk with that massive grin on his face.
Yeah, he has got some pearly whites, doesn't he?
Seriously.
It's just like, there was that one shot that I actually took a screenshot of you and sent it to you because he looked so crazy when he laughed. And that kind of happens here again. It's like his lips pull back from his teeth even on the side so that you can see his upper molars like all the way around. It is crazy.
To quote LL Cool J, his head is like a shark's fin. No?
Huh.
No.
That's a little poetic. Not really, but I like it anyway.
That was the song from Deep Blue Sea.
That's hilarious.
That was his
I
rap.
have never seen that movie. Is that the one that Samuel L. Jackson just gets like ganked right off of the...
That's the only thing that's worth watching in it is that, yeah, they spend the first 35 minutes setting him up as the hero. And then in the middle of his big hero speech about how he's going to get them all out of this and they're all going to survive, a shark jumps out of the water and bites them in half.
Oh my God, that is so hilarious. I never saw that. Owen made me watch the clip on YouTube and I almost died. I was just like, what is this?
Yeah, the rumors are that he actually walked out of the movie because George Lucas offered him a part in the new Star Wars movie. And he just bailed on this thing he was in the middle of.
Ooh.
Because he wanted to jump at the chance to be in Star Wars.
How'd that work out, buddy?
Yeah, I don't know if that's actually true, but that's the rumors and innuendo.
This party's over.
Yeah. Boyd and Daryl, they have this conversation. Boyd says, yeah, okay. Daryl's trying to tell him that it's all good, and Boyd is like, no, we're still 1,000 miles away from actually having the heroin in our possession, so let's see how this goes before we start talking about how great this went. And and Daryl starts talking about it'd be a real shame if Danny took a wrong turn somewhere.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then Daryl lays his cards out on the table that really what he wants to be a part of the family. He doesn't want to be an errand boy.
I just don't see how you think you're going to get that after pulling this kind of shit. You killed off half of his potential team.
Yeah, and I think in his mind, he's showing Boyd how clever he is and what good work he could do for you because he's wily. You
don't want somebody working for you that's too clever.
I agree.
Frankly. Not only that, but did he not just see what happened to Johnny, for fuck's sake? That's like the same. He's doing the same thing. You don't want to follow, and you can't lead.
But I don't know that you would ever make the argument that Johnny was too clever for his own good.
No, but he's doing the same thing where he won't fall into line, and he tried to prove his dominance a couple times, and it just fell apart. And I feel like it's not. He's better than Johnny was. He's smarter than he is, but he's not good at looking at things from the outside and seeing what that seems like. All he thinks about is, well, isn't this badass? Because his ego wants him to hear it that way. But you got to be able to step outside the situation and look at it as you would if you were in Boyd's shoes. And that is not a good look.
Yeah, he's got some blinders on. There's no question. There's no question. We leave them for now, though, and we go to Raylan. He is drinking alone in a bar and trying to figure out what happened between him and Allison. And he gets almost picked up by Kayla, a $1,000 a day hooker.
Dude, I knew this chick was a hooker the second she walked up.
Right?
The instant. Like, how did he not pick up on this? She is way too gorgeous and friendly and smooth that the only way that she wouldn't be a hooker is if the show decided that they wanted her to not be. But in life, of course, she would be. Like,
yeah.
She's just, it's Raylan, buddy, sweetie. This is supposed to be something that you're good at, is being able to, like, pick up the signals here. But I guess he's just so distracted because his girlfriend is mad at him. I guess. I also, I mean, in fairness, we have 4.5 seasons of evidence that beautiful women just walk up to Raylan and faint. I mean, true. That's part of why, like, my instant reaction was, oh, this chick's a hooker. And then I started to be like, well, they love to do this with him, so maybe not. But that was my first reaction. And then when she was, I was like, all right, I appreciate that they're not just trying to keep doing this and having gorgeous women fall into his lap, because I'm sure it won't be long until that does happen again, but you know.
She does offer to cut her rate down from $1,000 a day to only $500.
Just for him.
So, just for him. So I guess that's something.
For you, 300. Hold on, let me talk to my manager. We don't usually do this. He's going to hate me. He's going to be so mad at me. But I will see. For you, I'll go talk to him.
I wish she talked like that.
Right?
That would make me so happy.
This really gorgeous, like, sophisticated-looking woman that just blurts some shit out. Yeah, that'd be pretty... Yeah. Come on, guys, let's do this. I think that'd be hysterical.
So as soon as she gives up the game, we then cut to Raylan leaving the bar, getting out to his car, completely alone, in the rain, looking miserable. And
this was weird... What was the point of this scene?
I think this is him... Not that he, should have gone with the hooker, but I think this is him just deciding to dive back into his work because he doesn't want to think about anything else right now.
I don't feel like it was effective.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like you were going to go see your wife or ex-wife and child. You were asking this girl to come with you, and she declined and broke up with you, and you don't really get it. Fine. But why is being propositioned by a hooker the thing that sets you off? Like, is it that he thought he was doing well with a woman and it wasn't that, and it just, like, rubbed it in that he wasn't doing well with his girlfriend either? Because that's a really silly thing to try and get me to believe with somebody like Raylan, who just has women all over him all the time.
I don't know that I almost feel like it's more of a symbolism thing, I guess. I guess just the idea that he thought he had a handle on what was going on between him and Allison. And it turns out he really, really didn't. And once again, he is approached by a woman and he thinks he knows what's going on. And all of a sudden, he is brought to the rude awakening that he does not know what is going on in that conversation they're having.
I guess.
I'm spitballing, but...
I think you're right about what they intended. I just don't think it really worked. Like, that's not the situation that, to me, says, oh, Raylan's just going to throw himself back into his work now. You know what I mean? Like, go to fucking Florida and have a drink, man. You didn't even try to go on vacation and do your thing. You didn't even attempt it. You just went to a bar, got pissy, and then decided to go back to work. And it's like they're saying that if he can't have a woman with him for whatever he does for his vacation, that it's, like, not worth doing in his eyes, I guess.
I don't know. I almost feel like you might be fixating too much on the idea that he needs a woman, and more just the idea that when it comes to things outside of his job, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And every time he begins to approach that realization, he decides that he doesn't want to go there. So he decides to say he's on vacation while chasing down fugitives. Or not fugitives, I guess, in this case, drug smugglers.
Right.
So I think I mean, clearly, yeah, it's if that's what it's supposed to do, it doesn't do that. Certainly, it certainly doesn't make it obvious, and maybe it just fails entirely. But I don't know. I thought it was fine. It didn't stand out to me as like an amazing piece of symbolic cinema or anything, but I thought it was okay. And we do get to see, though, the thing he has right waiting for him in his car is the folder that has the bodies from Mexico, which definitely did not stay under wraps.
Yeah.
Because we see Johnny's face bloomed like a rose.
Yep.
And, yeah, so there is, the jig is up, at least.
Yeah, that was pretty gross. Unexpected.
Yes.
Excuse me.
So we go to credits. We come back, and Raylan is at the DEA's office in Memphis, and he's hoping to get a line on Hot Rod Dunham, because that's Dunham's guys who got killed down in Mexico. And this is where he meets Agent Hankins, who then points him to Agent Miller, who is Raylan in 30 years, as you said.
Yeah.
And he's at the gun range, just practicing his shot, drinking from a flask in between reloads.
Like, come on, dude. Raylan.
Yeah.
Raylan, do you see? Nope, he sure don't. It's like he does almost. For a second, I thought he did.
Mm-hmm.
And when he shows up at Arts, I really thought that was going to be the moment where he's like, all right, I've been an asshole. But no. Sure didn't. Okay.
Sure didn't. But we'll get there. For now, Raylan and Miller, they size each other up, and they do sort of this macho posturing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Miller decides that, okay, fine, he's going to accompany Raylan to go search for Hot Rod.
Oh, man, these two. And then what's this third guy's name?
The third guy is Agent Hankins, like Jenkins, but with an H.
He is a sad sort.
Yeah, he's really kind of doughy and out of his league.
Out of his league. Like, that's the main thing, is when he just goes and blurts some shit out later, you just want to just slap and shake him. You know? Yeah. And he's lucky they let him stay alive. Because I wasn't sure that was going to happen. And they just let him, like, hang and wait for somebody to find him. So at least they, were careful. But he's just lucky that because he just how are you going to just blurt shit out to the bad guys and tell them and, like, taunt them, too, as if they don't have any recourse? They're not chained to anything. They're cuffed sitting on a couch just behaving themselves because they decided to. It's not like they're chained to a radiator and can't get up, and which he finds out soon enough.
Yeah, he is Constable Bob if he had a federal job, basically.
Oh.
But yeah, he's very much a side character compared to these two. And Miller and Hot Rod are essentially like Raylan and Boyd in a couple of decades, where clearly this has been his guy for a long time. We find out later that Hot Rod was more than just a recurring villain for him, but
right.
They have a long storied history, clearly. We go away from them for a moment. We go to the prison, and Boyd finally gets to visit Ava.
About damn time.
Yeah, it doesn't really go the way Boyd expects it to go.
No, he's like expecting this to be his moment of comfort after a very trying time.
Yep.
That getting to see her is going to be like a drink of water after a walk through the desert. And surprise, she does not give a shit about his dumb face. She's irritated with him. She's stressed out. She needs him to do something for her. And she's really pretty much just done with him after that.
Yeah.
God damn. It was kind of great to watch, to be honest, because I like Boyd and I think he's trying his best. But, I mean, I have so been there, Ava. I get it. There are just times where you're just like, maybe it's not reasonable, but you know what? I just am tired of looking at you. And you just are making me so angry just being here right now, and I need to walk away before I just say some shit that I can't take back, or do some shit, or I just, you know what? Just get away from me. That's like what was rolling off her in that moment, and I was like, I feel you, sister.
Yeah, he definitely gets left hanging here. I do like the moment where she says, you ain't said anything about my hair. And his response is, well, it seems to me you should have always been wearing it that way.
Yeah, all right, buddy.
It's pretty clever response, but
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's clever insofar as, like, yeah, that's pretty quick, but it's also the exact wrong thing to say because it's so clearly total bullshit.
It's just it's the way that she asks it. It's pretty clear. She wants him to be like, well, what the fuck happened to you? I'm so sorry. Anything.
Right.
But instead he's trying to play it off and be flirty and cute. And that's just over, man. That's done. Like, we're not... No, this isn't the time.
Yeah, so he gets that visit 100% wrong, and basically she leaves him with a mission, like the beginning of Mission Impossible. And he suddenly finds out he's going to be contacted by somebody with a job to do. Please go do it. Bye.
Yep.
Back at Audrey's, Wendy and Kendall share a drink. Kendall's created the drink, the This Place Sucks.
Good name.
Which
Solid.
Wendy thinks is pretty good. Yeah. and accurate, too. And Wendy kind of tells him, look, Daryl and your brothers, they're going to bring in a bunch of money, and then we are out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the devil, Daryl shows up then to tell them all that everything went well. They are going to be filthy rich. And we also learned Daryl likes cafe con leche.
I mean, we knew that already, right? Didn't he ask for that?
Did
like
we?
in an
Okay,
earlier episode? Yeah.
All right, I didn't remember, but I just think that's a fun detail.
Because I think he asks when he first shows up at the whorehouse and he's like kind of tormenting Dewey. He asks somebody to make it for him, and I think it's one of the hookers. And she brings it, and he's like, you know it's not just coffee and milk, right?
Yeah,
and he's like
you're right.
really snotty about it. Like, fucking go
You're
make that
right.
shit yourself if you know what it is. Jesus.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But I was just a little tickled by that detail. So.
I like that, too, because, you know, Florida is it's got such a huge Hispanic population, and it's particularly Cuban population, that you're going to get used to things like that. And then come to some place like fucking Kentucky where they don't even know what you're talking about. You're going to miss some of the finer things like that. I know how that feels. Oh, I sure do.
You're stuck in the badlands of Texas.
God, you'd think that this place would know what they're doing when it comes to Mexican food. Nope. You'd think that they would know what they're doing when it comes to barbecue. Nope. I have yet to have good barbecue here, and the barbecue that I have seen people who live here be impressed by only makes me more alarmed. Because then I realize that they think this is good, so there must not be any good out here. The best barbecue I ever had was at Fessel's in Brooklyn. And then they opened a location in Philadelphia, and I almost peed my pants. I was so excited. It's the best. And they spoiled me because they're fucking brilliant. And every place else tastes like sawdust that got covered in liquid smoke. So, anyway, barbecue, guys. I'm hard to please, apparently. Didn't know that about myself.
Does not screw around when it comes to barbecue. So we leave the Cafe Con Leche, and we get to see Win Duffy again. And
can I tell you something?
Sure.
When I was watching this, Owen was watching with me. And I've said before, he doesn't watch the show with me consistently. He just pops in. Sometimes he just happens to be home. And he had not met Win Duffy before. So he sees him and he's like, who's this guy? He looks like an evil elf. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, he looks like if Spike from Buffy aged. And he just kept saying things like that. I was like, I guess. He's like, yeah, he kind of looks like a shark or something. I'm like, well, that's true. That's just.
I agree with the evil elf thing.
Right.
But, yeah, he is, but he's back. It's not a fantastic Duffy scene or anything, but I'm just happy he's here again.
Same. Although, what does it taste like my ass on Sunday? Why is your
Yeah.
ass different on a Sunday?
That's what I'm saying. Are you not showering during the week? Is that what we're led to believe? Or
I mean,
you don't
is it
wipe as well on the weekends? Or, I'm confused.
maybe it's supposed to be like you shower during the week but not on the weekend because you're like just hanging around?
Yeah, I mean, I would think
I don't know,
that
it's
your
a weird
ass
one,
would be
though.
better on Sunday. It's the Lord's Day, and you want to make everything look nice. I don't know.
Oh, God. Anyway, guys, let me know if you know what the hell that's about.
Anyway, yeah, so Duffy and Picker, they're sipping bad hotel coffee. He gets the call from Boyd. He's not happy to hear that they have new partners, I guess, and that he and Picker have to go down to Harlan to meet with Boyd and Daryl.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we then go to Raylan and Miller, and Henlick, whatever his name is, and Miller is surprised to hear Raylan's headed for Florida because Raylan doesn't seem much like a beach person to him.
Yeah. And then he says he's going to go see his kid, and he's like, kids? What'd you go and do that for?
Yeah.
And Raylan gives him this, like, look. And I thought that was going to be the moment that things started to sink in for him a little bit. You know, like, it's just impossible to not see this. This guy is... He is a glamorous looking dude, right?
Sure.
He's got the like perfectly graying hair. He's got designer frames on his glasses that he now needs.
He should be starring in a CSI show of some kind.
Right. His suit is a little bit too big and baggy and whatever. He's a little bit behind the style, fine. Mostly, I assume that he dresses a little bit sloppily because we're meant to see that now he drinks a bit, and he's a bit of a slob. He isn't as on top of shit as he once was because he went too hard for too long without a break, and now he looks like he's been stretched out in places and like left to dry. But he still like it's just so obviously he could be Raylan's dad. Like he could be Raylan's much older brother, even, really. Oh, Raylan. Dude.
He could be time-traveling Raylan from the future.
How hilarious would that be if this was like Looper? He has to kill himself. Whoops. But yeah, I really thought that moment in particular was going to be the moment that Raylan looks at him and is like, okay, you know what? This guy's kind of a schmuck. And am I a schmuck? Shit. Am I a schmuck? But no, it never happens. Maybe it'll happen eventually.
A lot more introspection than Raylan is capable of.
I don't think that's true, but I don't have anything to base that on.
Okay,
I don't have any evidence that he is capable of more introspection. I just think he is, but I don't know why I think that.
Yeah, maybe not capable of, but is willing to do.
Yeah,
more
maybe that's
introspection
more
than
it.
he's willing to do. But they enter Dunham's warehouse, and they find Jay and Roscoe, who we also haven't seen for a little while.
These two, I'm real bummed Roscoe died.
I know. They're great. And they know Miller very well, and he knows them. And they claim they haven't seen Hot Rod in days. They do look very bored.
They do. I honestly, when they were like, are you buying any of this? And he says, nah. I was like, you're not? Like, because I am. They look like they just don't know what the fuck to do with themselves. But
Yeah.
as it turns out, they are full of shit. So, good liars.
Yes. But, so they say they don't know anything. They leave Henkin with the two of them. And Raylan and Miller decide they're going to go investigate other leads. And we'll come back to them a little bit later, because there's more to say on Jay and Roscoe.
Yeah, there is. These two.
We go back to Boyd's bar, or Johnny's bar, whatever. And the prison nurse, Rowena, enters the bar looking for Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
And the bartender, Caleb, plays dumb, but he's another guy that Boyd has, and that's exciting.
Not for long, apparently. Because he does not think he signed up for this.
Yeah, he is not really... I don't think he's been prepped for what the life is really like in Boyd's gang.
No.
But fairly quickly, Boyd emerges from the back, and he decides to take the meeting. And Rowena says that she wants 100 grams of heroin per week. She will get a cut. Ava gets the rest. But first, Boyd has to help her get her retribution against the man who murdered her partner, Vernon.
Meanwhile,
burned down the
Boyd
house.
is like still stuck on the first part because he's like, wait, she wants what? Since when? Like, he is behind the times.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He was prepped very, very slightly for this meeting, but probably should have kept his mouth shut and maybe gotten a little more information.
Right.
But yeah, her partner Vernon got her house burned down by this guy while she was still in it.
That's fucked up. That's a fucked up way to kill somebody.
It sure is.
Like, that's just rude, you know? Like, God. At least have the decency to do it quick. Making them burn to death. That's just, like, cruel and unusual.
Yeah. But, what choice does he have? He told Ava he'd do this, so
right.
Game is on. Back at the warehouse, Hankins is keeping watch over Jay and Roscoe. And they're really annoying him with their smack talk.
Oh my God. He just falls right into this. Like, how easy are you, dude? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and he thinks he's being smart to let them know that half of Hot Rod's crew were found dead in the back of a truck that had traces of heroin in it in Mexico. And that sends them into sort of a wordless conversation with each other.
They're the best.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm so sad this is not happening again because one of them's gone.
I know. But yeah, they look at each other and kind of go, all right, it's now or never time. And they do such a good job of just like menacing this guy. And totally, like, they control this entire situation.
Completely. It's like he's not even there for all intents and purposes. Like, yeah, he's just the tiniest little obstacle that they have to get past, and they are not concerned about it.
No,
it's not even really a like, so do you think we should do this? It's a, how do you want to do this? Because clearly this is happening. So let's go through our little booklet here of, this one looks good. Hammer and Anvil? We haven't done it in a while. No. It's rated 4 stars, 4 anvils out of 5. I think we should go with this. Yeah, I loved it.
It's pretty good, and they assess the situation so quickly. There's not a doubt in their mind this guy is not going to shoot anybody, so they take control of the situation real fast. Finally, Roscoe headbutts this guy and knocks him into unconsciousness, and they're off.
It's so quick. I nearly missed it. Like, boom, he's down, and he's like, get the keys. I was like, Jesus, what just happened?
Yeah, when we come back to them, Hankins is now strung up in the room.
Embarrassing.
And, yeah, which is, I mean, I guess whatever, because he was being kind of a punk, but just seems mean.
It seems super uncomfortable. And, like, he's not a lightweight either. So all that weight on your arms, like, that's got to just...
Yeah.
You're going to need to... I'm surprised his arms didn't, like, come dislocated, you know?
I know.
I always think about that, like, how much... Because you see stuff like this in movies all the time where people are, like, hung from weird positions. And I always wonder, like, really, truly, what can the body take before it starts to just, like, pull apart? Could somebody that weight hang like that and be okay at the end of the day?
Did you see This Is the End?
Yes. I forgot about that movie.
Do you remember the part in the beginning when basically the world is going to hell and it's Seth Rogen and whoever one of the party guests is, and he's hanging there by his like fingertips basically at the edge of the cliff, and says, "Give me your hand." He says, "Okay, I am going to put my entire body weight onto your hand so that way you can pull me up. Okay? Okay." And so obviously he grabs for it and immediately slips through his fingers because that's the most ridiculous thing the movie's ever invented.
I forgot about that. That's so good. That movie's fun. I should rewatch that.
It's a pretty good movie. I think it got sadly overlooked, but it's a good one. Anyway, though, so Hankins is he's all tied up. It looks super uncomfortable. They call Ali, who is holding Hot Rod duct taped to a chair.
This is the same dumbass guy who let Hot Rod give Boyd warning. So yeah, of course he's going to go and get Hot Rod a pencil now. Of course he is. You fucking dope.
Yeah. And it sounds like, based on everything that they know, which is way incomplete, they think that Boyd has double-crossed everybody. And so therefore they need to go get revenge.
Right.
Or money.
Or money.
Not revenge, as it turns out.
Yeah.
But it's time to make their move. And Hot Rod just asks for a pencil so he can tell them exactly where Boyd is. He can draw a map to Boyd's place.
And the thing is, like, when he says you can't find anything without a map, I mean, the only reason that one would ever maybe believe that is if it were someplace like someone's house or something in the boonies. But this is a business. You should know better, dude. That when he says try Google, you should have.
Yeah, right?
You absolutely should have. Like, what a fucking dummy. He deserved it.
Yes.
You're that dumb. It's the second big mistake you made, like, in the past couple days. That's what
Seriously.
you get.
Yeah, so Miller and Raylan, they pull up outside the shop, and as they're getting out of the vehicle, they hear a single shot. And when they enter, they find Ali, and it turns out Hot Rod has gone full John Wick.
Yes.
And stabbed Ali through the throat.
Why is that movie so good? Guys, go see the second John Wick.
Yeah, it's 10 times as ridiculous as the first one.
Yes.
But still a lot of fun.
I liked it better in some ways. Not really, but like in some ways, yeah. I did.
if you're going to go ridiculous, you may as well go, 150% ridiculous. So, anyway, yeah, Ali is dead by pencil, which is awesome. And then we find Hot Rod in the back of the room, gut shot. And he tells me, just like you, to show up 2 minutes late.
I felt bad about this. I like Hot Rod.
Yeah, I do too. And like he says, he got greedy.
Yep.
He got greedy. And he and Miller have a really nice sort of final scene together.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can tell there's a lot of history between these guys.
Yeah, I mean, he looks really bummed about it. And later on, when they run into Roscoe and what's the other one's name? Jay. They were like, well, we know you're upset about Hot Rod. Like, everybody is aware of the kind of relationship that these two have. It really makes me wonder, if something were to happen to Boyd, what would Raylan feel?
I'm sorry, you went in and out there. I totally missed what you said.
Oh, sorry. I said if it makes me wonder if something were to happen to Boyd, what would Raylan feel about it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's more complicated than Raylan would probably think it would be if you just asked. Yeah, totally agreed.
Probably depends, too, on how he went out. Because this
Also
is just
true.
kind of like it feels very undignified for somebody who's gotten as far as he has to be killed by this fucking joker.
Dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the way it happens. Eventually your luck runs out. And no doubt for Hot Rod to get to that age, he was either very, very careful or very, very lucky, and probably just some combination of the two.
Right.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a very undignified way for him to go. And, yeah, he takes a final sip from the flask and dies.
Yep.
So, we then go to a nursing home where Boyd visits Elma Swain.
Yeah, Boyd.
This is the guy that he's been sent to kill.
He almost had me fooled for a second. Like, I didn't really believe that he was going to do this. Not really. but he is convincing. And I really the main thing that like got me wondering if maybe I was misjudging him was when he says, you know, killing an old man in his hospital bed isn't exactly on my bucket list. So that was when I was like, oh shit, maybe he is just going to try and figure out a way to like disappear this guy. But then I was like, he's not that stupid. Ava's on the line here. He's not going to take the risk of getting found out to have welched on a deal when it's Ava. That's just not what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So, and it turns out when he says it's not on my bucket list, he's not lying. And that's why it caught me, because it has the ring of truth to it. Because he's telling the truth in that, yeah, I'm going to kill you somewhere else. not in your hospital bed, because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to figure out, you know, a different place to make this happen instead.
Yeah, pretty much. And we learn what actually happened that resulted in Swain, you know, killing Vernon. And it's that Swain's daughter was in prison there on check fraud and wound up getting hooked on heroin and died from a bad batch that was smuggled in by Vernon and Nurse Rowena.
Yeah, and he's like, she didn't deserve that. And I'm like, you know, I can't really like blame the guy for being angry. I mean, that's part of the whole thing, right? Is that there's everybody on this show, in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, their grievances all feel legitimate to one degree or another.
Yeah.
And so, like, obviously, this guy burning somebody to death in their home isn't his deal. Like, that takes things several steps past what I think is fair. But also, and it's not just a simple thing like she just overdosed, like you said. It was a bad batch, so they were fucking with it and putting people. It's not just like, well, she got addicted, and that is kind of on her because of, you know, if she like got in too far over her head, there's nobody else that you can really hold responsible for her choice. But when it's a bad batch, sure, you have to, you know, as an addict, you've got to know to a degree that you're going to be taking on that kind of risk, but you never know that. And you never think that somebody's doing that to you, because who wants to think that there's even worse things in those drugs than the drugs?
Yeah. Well, and you know, and this guy's point is really that, like, she didn't go into prison
as an addict. Drugs. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, I don't know. I just think it's I wonder what this show's process is, but it kind of feels like, all right, so we're going to say that this guy burned somebody to death in their own home intentionally. Mm-hmm. What would it take to get somebody to that point? Because it's not like this guy gets off on that kind of thing.
Right.
He was pushed to that point in some way or another. So let's figure out what it is. And yeah, I like you said, the motives on this show are very, very well thought out, even for little things like this. And I guess the only other thing I want to say about this particular scene is I love when, you know, Elmet's sort of playing dumb for the first 10 seconds of the conversation, and Boyd's face when he draws the gun out from underneath his pillow.
Yeah.
Just kind of turns into like oh, God damn it.
Right. This is not what I signed up for today. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just like that little bit. Now, Caleb, the bartender, is reading a newspaper alone at Johnny's bar when Jay and Roscoe enter.
Listen, this guy is not on his guard nearly enough. This place is dead empty. Yeah. And these two guys come in acting really friendly, and you already know that they're in some shady shit. Like, he is so, and he does grab the gun, I'll give him that. He figures out pretty quick, but it's just, he's not prepared for the shit that Boyd is into, man. I wish he had gotten more of a heads up. That should be on the fucking job description.
Seriously.
BT Dubs may be threatened with a gun on a regular basis, and by regular we mean twice a day.
Do you remember a few years ago when they found and they like disseminated the Al Qaeda job application.
Oh my God, no.
It's a thing you can find online, and apparently it's legit. It was released by like our government, and it is the most interesting thing in the world because it looks like most job applications that you've ever filled out in your life, except for there are also questions like, "Are you interested in being a martyr?" And it's just it's so surreal. It's so surreal. I highly encourage you to go try to find it.
Man.
And you'll probably end up on a watch list. I shouldn't tell people to go try to find the Al Qaeda job application, but it is a real thing out there on the internet, and it's
That's
really
horrifying.
interesting. Yeah. And you know, and I'm sorry I actually skipped a scene before the Caleb scene. Boyd is really briefly on the cell phone with Carl, and we learned that Carl's 2 hours away, but the truck with Danny and Dewey apparently got lost.
Yeah, these two, and it's still, by the end of this episode, they're still out there.
Yes, and Dewey has been having bad luck with GPS. Imagine that.
There's no,
and Danny is.
They're not able to take highways because of the cops, so they're trying to stay back roads, and he doesn't. There's no signal. He doesn't know what the name of the road they're on is. Yeah, it's a bad scene.
Yeah, the whole thing is a mess, and Danny is on the verge of losing it. So I just didn't want to miss that part. But after that, then we go to Caleb, who is in way the hell over its head, and Jay and Roscoe, they take over that bar really, really quickly, and Caleb hangs tough until they shove a gun in his mouth. At which point they say, "Okay, we are going to give you till the end of this song to think about this, and then we are going to talk."
Right.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, these two, man. I've been saying it, but I'm still saying it. I'm bummed.
Yeah, I get it. Now, back in prison, Ava is confronted by this angry, strung-out inmate who is blaming Ava for the interruption in the supply.
This scene is the reason that I could see somebody not liking this storyline, because this felt like that woman's acting was not up to par.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was good enough, but
it took me completely out of it. Like the moment that, because I was like into this episode, and the moment she shows up, I was standing there like kind of sneering / snorting, like just like, oh God, what is this? Like she's just the whole scene on its own, just like, you know, an angry junkie, is to a degree to be expected. But I did kind of hope that they'd have more than one person be angry at Ava and be like, what the fuck? You better be. But having it be like a one-on-one thing made it feel way less stakes, because there's not a group that's kind of gunning for her, which I would be more afraid of personally than one person. The fact that she like pulls a weapon instead of just being vaguely like, hey, we've got our eye on you and you better fucking hope this works, bitch.
Yeah.
That felt a little bit ridiculous, because as far as I know, it's like been a day, not even. But and also the way that they have her trying to use the like local slang when it's clearly an actress that does not speak this way, it felt really false. Like at one point she's like, well, it'll learn her. But she says it like that, like a Northeast accent, it'll learn her. And I'm like, that's not, no, you could tell this woman doesn't talk like that. Like, it just felt very, you know what I mean?
I do. It's not the most, it's not the best scene that the show's ever done, but I do think it's a really nice showcase for Judith to kind of show what a badass she is.
Mm-hmm. Judith does not have time for this bitch.
She sure does not. She sure does not. And she talks her right down out of this frenzy that this lady is in. And she seems Did you ever see the movie Unforgiven?
No.
There's a bit in Unforgiven. It is a fantastic movie about the nature of violence and what it does to people, and a total like deconstruction of the Western genre. It's awesome. But one of the things that you hear from Clint Eastwood's character is about essentially why he's lived for so long and won so many gunfights and blah, blah, blah. And really, it's you need to be willing to take the chance that you basically need to give yourself time to aim. And that means you have to let the other guy fire first and accept that you just might get shot and killed before you get a chance to do what you want to do.
Okay.
And once you accept the fact that that might just be a part of what's going to happen, then you got this. And that's kind of what Judith does here is, again, I don't think she thinks that this lady is really going to stab her, but she is perfectly willing to, like, go ahead, do it.
Yep.
And once you're over the fact that you just might get shanked in prison, then the rest of the conversation comes easy.
I'm like, all right. Sorry, I'm about to talk about some shit that happens later yet again.
Okay.
We better speed this up because I have to make it to my Spider-Man showing. So we got to be moving this along. Sorry, listeners, but you understand how it is. You know, Spider-Man, man. What am I supposed to do? Not go? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. All right. So real quick scene, Raylan and Miller, they enter Johnny's bar, and Miller's excited because there is Maker's Mark on the table left there for him to refill his flask. And they also discover Caleb duct taped and bound and gagged behind the bar, and they undo his mouth so they can talk to him for a minute, and then they just leave him there because Caleb is having the worst day ever.
Oh my God, when they just left him there, I died a little bit. I was laughing so hard. I didn't expect that. I should have with the two of them, because what the fuck did they care? But yeah.
And you know they didn't call anybody. They didn't. No, they just let him there. It's not illegal to be gagged with bound with duct tape behind a bar. So they go back at Audrey's. This is the big sit down at between Boyd and Daryl and Duffy and Picker. And they're trying to come to terms with what Daryl means to them. Daryl wants 20% of everything they do because he is going to be their smuggler. And Picker and Duffy, they think 20 is ridiculous, and they offer back 10, which Daryl thinks is ridiculous.
Daryl, what do you think you're doing, buddy?
He's trying to play with the big boys. Taking his shot. It's America, man. Gotta let him play. So, outside, Jay shows up to the meeting place, talks to Jimmy and Mike really quickly, just long enough to distract them from the fact that Roscoe is approaching from the side like a velociraptor, guns drawn, making sure that they can get inside.
A velociraptor. I love it.
Yeah. They hunt in packs. So, Jimmy and Mike march in on the big meeting. And they quickly learn that they are at gunpoint. And Jay and Roscoe get the drop on everybody. And they offer their terms. And I like Boyd says, taking into consideration everything that's happened in the last 48 hours, I take it you are here for drugs or money or maybe revenge. Right.
There's such a list of things that could be happening here. Who knows?
Yeah, just based on the last 2 days. And Boyd starts talking and just sort of going and going and going as Boyd tends to do. And yeah, in the process, he offers that, they can just take over what Daryl's doing for us if they just kill him.
Mm-hmm. Daryl. Can we talk about that moment? You kill him and agree to 10%, you're fine. And Daryl's like, I will take the 10%. Shut up, Daryl. It's too late for that. And he just goes, okay. Oh, I loved that whole interaction. It was the best.
It's such a great little moment. It really, yeah. And nobody at the table has a problem with this except Daryl. So, man. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Raylan and Miller have entered the bar right behind Roscoe and Jay, and they now have the drop on everybody. And this is when Roscoe opens up, and he drops a Shakespeare bomb on the whole bar about King Lear.
What?
It's beautiful.
I love Raylan. I don't know what they're talking about, but I got to admit, I'm interested. Same, Raylan, same.
Yeah, and that's just the English major inside of me just loves that so much. I love King Lear, and I won't go into it, but it's such a common thing for the guy, the quote unquote big dumb guy, to suddenly have his big moment where it turns out he's really eloquent and cultured and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they just do this so well, and the rest of the room is just so. This conversation is so far over their heads, like they do not understand the conversation he's making at all.
I found it on my favorite website, stopshowingoff.com. Have you seen that on 30 Rock? He has a one of his entourage is this big, huge dude who really looks like his only function is a bouncer / bodyguard named .com.
Yeah, of course.
And he is pretending to be Kenneth for a blind girl on a date. And,
I vaguely remember this episode.
And it's what's his name? Oh my God. Tracy Jordan is talking to this girl, and they're pretending they're at a restaurant, and .com is pretending to be the maitre d' and starts speaking in fluent French, putting Tracy very much on the spot, because she expects him to speak French back. And he just looks at him and says, "Oh, yes, I found this restaurant on my favorite website, stopshowingoff.com." And .com is like, honey. Just kind of like goes silent and leads them in. And, yeah, that's what I thought of here. Who's the other guy with .com in that show? It's his two... Griffin.com, that's right. Yeah. They might be my favorite characters. They're the best.
Show. They're so good. So Roscoe has his Griffin.com moment, I guess. But great little King Lear moment here. And Raylan and Miller, and just at the end of this, it really doesn't matter whether they get it or not, because they are not here for this at all.
Right.
And Miller tells Roscoe to drop the gun, tells him again to drop the gun, and Roscoe keeps talking. And so Miller just single shot drops him.
Oh, I was really hoping that's not how this was going to go, man.
I know. It really sucks.
He gave him the warning. He did, but it still came as kind of a shock, It
did. Absolutely it did. Because this is, as much as this guy is so close to who Raylan is, Raylan's not that guy, at least not yet. Who he gives the guy 2 warnings and then with no further pretense just shoots him, whether or not this guy is actually in the process of causing trouble.
Right.
Yeah, that's one step past the line that Raylan has been willing to go up to this point. So, yeah, sadly, that's the end of Roscoe, insofar as we can tell.
Yeah, I felt really bad about it. And the way that he screams, like, ugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can tell that this is, that this is Jay's best friend.
Yeah.
Just, it's a great little bit of acting, which is not shocking from Wood Harris. But unfortunately, he's shot, and they have this moment of they tell Jay, put the gun down, and it takes him a good long while to do it. But eventually he does.
Yeah, I was afraid he wouldn't, but yeah.
No, and this show has gone both ways in the past, so it really could have done. It could have been anything. So the authorities take Jay into custody, and Miller and Raylan have this really brief discussion where Raylan's got to go back to Lexington to finish up some things, and Miller asks about his kids, or says he's going to go see his own kids, rather, and there's a whole thing about, I thought you said you didn't have family. And turns out, no, he's got them. He just, doesn't seem to care that much, really.
Right. He
maybe,
says, like, I always meant to go see them, but that never wound up working out, which is such a weird way to say that. Like, but working out.
But that's how Raylan is in his mind as well.
Yeah.
I really do want to go see my newborn daughter, but it's bad timing. Bad timing for months and months and months and months and months of bad timing.
Yep.
So yeah. And Raylan pulls away, and Miller takes the pull from his flask. Now, Boyd and Jimmy are taking Elmont Swain for a ride in the pickup truck to go to wherever it is that they promised this guy they were going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And Boyd gets out to take a piss, and to calm Elmont down, they give him a billfold full of money. And as Boyd is walking out, Jimmy reaches over from the back seat and
some piano wire or something. And yeah, garrots him. Garrots him?
Yep.
Which one is it?
One of those words that I haven't heard out
somewhere in
loud
there.
enough to really know. So, but in any event, yeah, that's the end of Elma Swain, sadly. And Boyd calls Rowena to tell her it's done.
Yep. I was kind of relieved, to be honest. So I'm glad that's done.
Yeah, it could have been a big thing. So
yeah.
In the trailer behind Johnny's bar, Kendall and Wendy, they're playing double solitaire, and Daryl's out on bail because I presume they arrested everyone that was there for the hell of it.
Mm-hmm.
He enters and he wants to play double solitaire with them, so he starts going through Kendall's stuff. And
Kendall don't take kindly to that.
Not so much. And Daryl keeps going, especially because it's irritating Kendall, and he finds the envelope with the $2,000 in it. And Kendall's got to lie and says it's money that he stole from the Johns at the bar. And Daryl declares he's keeping it for himself, ostensibly because I think he thinks he's teaching Kendall a lesson. Or at least that's what he's telling himself. That's in my head, at least.
I felt so bad for this kid, man. That sucks.
Yeah. And after they go, Wendy and Daryl have a real quick discussion where he said, Wendy says, like, maybe he's just looking for a way out. And Daryl says, way out? Why do you keep talking about getting out?
Let's think, buddy. Maybe it's because they want to get out.
Yeah, he cannot understand that someone
dum-dum.
would not want this life. They're about to take over the entire heroin business in Kentucky, insofar as Daryl can tell. So
yeah, sure, buddy.
That's a thing that's a thing that's going to come up again. Spoilers. All right, and
this dude, you just read the fucking writing on the wall, buddy. God.
I know.
All right.
All right. So as the episode winds down, we have Ava in the prison infirmary, and she's ostensibly there to get her hepatitis B shot. And Rowena tells her that Boyd did it. He acquitted himself admirably on her behalf. And then she switches it up and says, there's, by the way, one other condition. Ava needs to kill Judith.
Surprise!
And Ava has zero leverage, of course.
Yep.
So, what's going to happen? What can she possibly do?
Lead a weird detoxification program for all of the addicts? Yay!
Yeah, sure.
It'd be rehab.
Seems likely. Yeah, it's pretty shitty, and that's why you don't trust the police, I guess. Is that the message?
I don't trust anybody, pretty much.
Oh, there we go. All right, sure. But yeah, so we will have to see what happens with that, because Rowena can she can make whatever demands she wants for forever. Power play.
Yep.
Yeah. Raylan walks back into the marshal's headquarters late that evening because he has to file some paperwork despite the fact he is on vacation. And he catches Art leaving, and they have a confrontation that doesn't resolve anything at all.
Nothing.
No. Although Art does come to the realization, he goes, my wife's right. I'm the crazy one here.
Yep.
That he keeps thinking Raylan's going to change. And Art says he's got a week and a half left, and as long as he's the boss, he gets to decide whether or not Raylan is here. And he gets to call this conversation, and they are not having this conversation now. Bye.
I appreciated that, at least insofar as that goes, he puts his foot down. Because I'm real tired of seeing Raylan just walk all over Art. I mean, goodness.
Yeah. And so is Art, clearly.
Mm.
And that leads us to our very last scene, which is Miller driving alone on the highway, listening to his country music, and he spots a wrecker towing a car headed the other way. And he spins around.
He does a fucking flying U-turn.
He sure does. And he overtakes the tow truck and pulls it over. And then he comes face to face with Danny, who's got his knife in hand. And they have this sort of discussion where Danny wants to test out the 21-foot rule, which we still haven't really talked about. But
I had never heard of this. Apparently,
I never heard about it either.
Is it supposed to be that he's not allowed to fire unless he comes closer than 21 feet?
this is my assumption, because this is just from context clues. My guess is what Danny is saying is, if you're within 21 feet of somebody with a holstered gun, you can take them with a knife before they can get off a shot.
Oh.
I've never actually heard of this, but that was my assumption, just based on the context of the scenes it comes up in.
Huh. Okay. Weird.
So they have what appears to be a, not a shoot off, but they sort of square up. And it almost comes down to it until Dewey slides behind the wheel, steps on the gas, clips Danny, and hits Miller full on.
Oh, man. I was so mad that he doesn't hit him harder.
I know.
Danny, I mean, obviously. Not Miller.
Yeah. And then just takes off. Doesn't even slow down.
It's pretty great. High five.
Seriously. And we see Danny picking himself back up and going like, oh, son of a bitch. And then we cut to Dewey, who was just screaming in rage and adrenaline and desperation and fed upness.
Oh, it is a great moment, honestly. Dewey, you're the worst and you're super dumb and this is not going to go well for you, but still, I kind of admire you for it. Can't lie.
Yeah. So there, from there we go to credits. Dewey is on the run. Miller is very much hit by a car. Danny is stranded by the side of the road. And we've only got 4 episodes to go to the end of the season, so anything could happen.
I really want Miller to shoot Danny. I don't know if he's even conscious. Probably not, but like even from his spot on the ground with his legs broken, just shoot him. Just fucking get it over with, please. Just do it. Oh, I hate him so much.
Yeah, it's definitely not the way they expected this confrontation to go.
No. It made me really happy, though, because I didn't want to see them go at each other. Like, so thank you, Dewey, for cutting that short and not making me watch that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but I can't help but wonder, though, if it wouldn't have gone differently if Miller was a slightly different kind of cop.
Can you say that again?
Wait. Oh, I can't help but wonder if this would have gone differently if Miller was a slightly different kind of cop.
Probably.
This macho thing where he seems totally willing to, okay, I'm going to holster my gun because you're going on about the 21-foot rule, and I want to have a shootout in the middle of the street.
Right. And I think, wasn't he taking a pull on his flask while he was driving, too? Like, so he's clearly sauced up here and, like, just not on his best behavior in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where this life gets you, shot dead in the road, if you're not careful. Or hit by a car and rolling around, or just one of these times you stop being lucky. It's I don't know. It's an interesting look at an almost Raylan. So
yeah,
that's our episode.
Raylan. Oh man, I'm so mad at him still, guys. That's what this should be called. Is Natasha's justified for being angry at Raylan? All right, guys. Well, normally I would do announcements at the end of this, but we really do need to go. So I promise I will catch up and say hi to like all 30 of my new patrons next week. And I will also talk about my awesome new sponsor, which is AkioBox. If you want to just go check them out and use code UNSPOILED on your first order, it's a subscription box that's Harry Potter themed. If you use code UNSPOILED, you get 10% off your first 3 boxes, which is pretty fucking great. So, AkioBox.com, ACCIOBOX.com. Check it out. I think that's all I wanted to say. Anything to add, sir?
Nope. At Al Kingsley on Twitter. You've all heard it before. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you all so much for listening. Leave us a review on iTunes. We love you.
Bye.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
This lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul, God get at you, boy. You try to go off, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I see them long, hard times to come. My life is ill, son, prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, is real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying
was an Unspoiled Network podcast.